Start with breaking news in Rockford tonight after a second law enforcement shooting takes place this weekend. Well, James, I'm here live in Winnebago, and I drove from Rockford to Winnebago after the storm passed. And as I made my way down here, I saw down paralyzing trees on my way. I'm gonna step out the way so you can see crews are actually out here working on this street. James, Mayor Tom McNamara says it's in this moment we must come together and work together to make Rockford a safe city for everyone. 2 years ago today, a McHenry County Sheriff's deputy lost his life in the line of duty. The pandemic, less than 100 people were using telehealth services here at Mercy per week. Now more than 2,000 people are logging on and are talking with their doctors virtually. Well, James, I'm live here outside the Rockford Board of Elections, where, as you can see behind me, there is just a line of people waiting to cast their votes. And this is actually the site where many people in our area have come to early vote. Today, a local wildlife rehab center was able to put a special fundraiser on with the help of some cute furry friends. I think if I was like 8 years old, I could do it, because at 8, I didn't have a phone. So it's like, oh yeah, but now I'm like, TikTok, Netflix, just regular TV. I don't know if I could do it. New tonight, a couple of Belvedere teachers put down their lesson books and picked up a hammer, all to help out a fellow colleague. We break into your regular scheduled programming tonight to bring you an update on a mass shooting in Rockford. Just this morning, authorities provided an update on the tragedy at Don Carter Lanes on Saturday that left 3 people dead and 3 others injured. I'm here inside the Old Stone Food Pantry, where, as you can see, there are just shelves full of food, cans, just anything. Fire crews actually just left from what they say has been a very devastating fire. Take a look at this home. This home was completely engulfed in flames, and when we got on scene, the next door neighbor said she heard a loud boom and came outside thinking something had struck her home, but really it was her neighbor's home. And she ran to make sure nobody was inside, and thankfully no one was hurt. And then if you look just across the street from us, this tree collapsed on this home. And the neighbors say they were leaving to go to work when they heard that same boom, came home to make sure their house was okay, but they found this. Today I spoke with the victim, who says she wants the public to know her story so they don't fall for the same trick.
I'm doing all the survey, and right over here, I'll show you.
That's no handyman trying to help this woman with her windows, rather a thief helping his friends steal from her.
I go in my bedroom now and I think, here were 3 men in this house.
A 94-year-old Beloit woman who doesn't want to be identified says a week ago a man knocked on her door saying he was working on her neighbor's fence.
And he said, I'm putting a new fence in back here for your neighbors. And he said, I want to know where your line is, because when we pound those in, it's kind of noisy. I don't want to disturb you.
But instead of disturbing her, he distracted her.
And right over here.
Just enough for 3 other people to get inside and steal jewelry and money from her bedroom. The man is seen on her security camera knocking on both a door and a window. She says most likely trying to distract her from any noise inside. After a couple of minutes, the men were able to leave without being noticed. When she went back into her room, she realized the people had ransacked her safety box, the one she had just opened right before they came to her home.
In my wedding ring and engagement ring, I had a 5-carat diamond necklace, opals, real opals with diamonds all around them.
Unfortunately, she isn't the only victim. Beloit Police Captain Daniel Mullen says this group is traveling in between Wisconsin and Illinois, pulling the same act.
We've had other law enforcement agencies reach out after seeing our video and saying, hey, we had a similar MO.
Luckily, the woman was not harmed during the situation, which is why she says she's telling her story so no one else falls victim and police find these thieves.
I hope they send them to prison.
For your 13 Weather Authority, Lauren Baker, 13 News. And one vendor who spoke up about the situation says she was kicked out of the mall. I spoke with her and others who tell me something like this simply can't be tolerated.
This day and age and time, we shouldn't be dealing with this.
That's how Crystal Perez says she felt when she heard that these items were being sold at the Best of Beloit Vintage Mall. She works at the sister store, Best of Janesville Vintage Mall, and says she was not happy with the owner's response to the situation.
And I kept speaking up. I said this, you know, that's showing how much you value us as vendors. Like, that's hurtful.
She says a conversation was created in a Facebook group full of vendors and the owner. When she spoke up, she says the store's owner threatened to kick her out.
I was told that, I'm sorry we see so differently. do you have any idea of how many I've kicked out of here for less? And at that point, I had reached out to him personally asking, what are you threatening to kick me out of? And he said them all.
After she responded to this, she says the owner told her, quote, have your stuff out by the end of the week, please, end quote. Perez isn't the only one who no longer works there.
Monday morning, I was there as soon as the store opened, pulling my items out of the store.
Vendor Katie Howes says she left the Janesville store because she felt the business owner didn't address how hurtful these items are.
I couldn't have my name represented in a business that has no compassion.
But this isn't the first time someone has left the Vintage Mall franchise for things they say they found racist and offensive.
They know that we're African American. They should know that that's offensive.
Paquita Purnell says she left the Best of Beloit store back in February because of racist items being sold.
We had a booth there, and a booth next to ours had a circa 1940 tea towel that featured Pickaninny children on it.
And even though these business owners must now find a new place to do business, they say it's worth it to stand up against racism.
Get in trouble, the good trouble.
I called the owner twice today to see if he would comment on any vendors leaving. He did not return my calls, but did tell 13 WREX on Monday that he plans to send a memo to vendors about not putting inappropriate items in the store. It's been more than 24 hours since Derek Chauvin was found guilty for killing George Floyd. And while some may still be trying to collect their thoughts on the case, many are asking what comes next. Experts say while they can't tell the future, what they can predict is that some change will come from this trial. To some, a guilty verdict served as a verdict of justice to George Floyd. But to others, it served as a history lesson that could possibly change the future.
It's another example of this much longer story about the treatment or the relationship between law enforcement and African Americans.
Northern Illinois University Center for Black Studies Associate Director Joseph Flynn says both the trial and the year leading up to it have opened up the conversation of the history of police use of force against Black people and people of color. He says it's exposed the role systemic racism has played with the fact that cities need to spend more on solving issues that cause crime.
Police reform is really about thinking about how can things be done more effectively. We should think about ideas about how are we allocating resources, because there are social service resources that can do a lot of the jobs or respond to a lot of the calls that police officers are going out to.
Rockford University Political Science Associate Professor Bob Evans says the trial could lead to changes in training for police officers and even behavior.
For example, whether I was in Minnesota or not, if I'm a police officer today, I have to begin to think more carefully about how I use force and under what condition.
He adds that departments may look within their own policies to see what changes they should make moving forward. While both men say this trial won't solve systemic racism or heal the pain from other deaths like Breonna Taylor's or Eric Garner's, it does become a starting point for change they say they already see take place. Chauvin was found guilty on 3 counts, including second-degree unintentional murder. He will be sentenced in 2 months.